What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jane. I'm a certified personal trainer based out of New York City. On this channel, I post workouts, reviews, fitness breakdowns. I do New York City vlogs, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of Sweat It to Shred It by Sarah's Day. I'm super excited about today. I have my notes right here, so if I keep looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But I do want to do a quick disclaimer. First of all, these are all of my opinions. Sarah talks a lot about why she created the ebook the way that she did. Because I was taught and trained a certain way, I might feel differently than how Sarah feels, but that's not to say that the way that what she's doing is wrong. There's a lot of right ways to work out. Different things are gonna work for different people. And before we jump in, I just wanna say I absolutely adore Sarah. She's one of the first influencers that I ever followed. She's actually one of the biggest inspirations for me starting my fitness journey in the first place. So I really do love her and I respect her so much. So I'm very excited to actually dive into her program. This is actually the first time I've ever done the program. She had a sale a few weeks ago, so I ended up buying the program. I did the first week, and then here I am doing this review. So let's just go ahead and jump right into my review of Sweat It to Shred It by Sarah's Day. So starting off, she has this intro at the very beginning that talks about her fitness journey and the reason that she wrote the program the way that it's written, because it incorporates a lot of different styles between Pilates, some strength training, body weight stuff, and then also there's a lot of HIIT interval training. Then I went all the way to the end of the program and read the disclaimer, and there I love what she writes. She writes about how that this is motivational content. So she's really big in the intro and the disclaimer that this is a guide and it should be used as a guide. If you need to change things around, just change them around and just kind of make it your own, do what feels good for you, listen to your body. So I really love that she put that out there because it really emphasizes the fact that this is just a guide. The guide is broken up into several different styles of training. The first one is a sweaty shredder. So in this one, this is a very high intensity interval training / Tabata style. So this one was a lot of jumping, a lot of HIIT workouts, exactly what you would think when you hear sweaty shredder. I was gassed after this one. The next one is a toning power. So I think that this one is very Pilates based. It's all supersets and it's all body weight strength workouts. The next section is challenges, and so in this one I really love the challenge sections because they're kind of little activities that you get to do. Some of these are games that you play or outdoor workouts that you can do. The one that we did this week was a 10-minute ab workout, so they kind of vary week by week, but I really did like the challenges. I thought they were very cute and a good way to keep people interested throughout the program. And then we're finishing off with activities. So activities are kind of you can do whatever you want to do. So you can go on a walk with a friend, or you can go swimming or running or jogging or do stairs. There's a bunch of, she just gives you some ideas of things that you could do. If you really like swimming, then you could easily swim every single weekend if you wanted to. And this is where Sarah kind of introduces her timer app that she has. So if you wanted to use the timer app, I think that that's fine, but from my understanding, I didn't get it because I already have a Tabata app. I use Tabata Pro, but from my understanding, it's you click a button for Sweaty Shredder and then all of the times are already put in there. So the pro of that is that if you're really gonna stick to this program, it's super convenient because you just click one button and then the timer's there. But the downside to it is that once you get it, that's those are the only workouts that you have. With the Tabata Pro app, I can change it around as much as I need to, so I could just set it up for Sarah's workouts, but then I can also set it up to do my own interval training. So depending on how much you would actually use an interval app, hers is cheaper than Tabata Pro, and I'm sure that there's other ones out there. You could also probably find a free one on the internet. Just depending on how much you would actually use it would be how much I would suggest getting Sarah's app. So far, just from me looking at it, I would say the pros of the setup is that this is a beautiful ebook. It is so stunning to look at it, and you just felt like Sarah was welcoming you into the workout. It really did feel just the start of her, the start of one of her YouTube videos or one of her Instagram posts. It just felt very on brand for Sarah. But I really liked that. It made me excited to do the first workout. One of the details that I really loved from it was that when you're looking at the table of contents, if you were on week 4, you could just tap week 4 and then it would take you down to week 4, which is just so convenient. So you don't have to scroll all the way down. You just go to week 4 and then just find your day and you're done. So then the things that I didn't like as much about the setup was that not every day has pictures. So on some days it would tell you the name of an exercise, but then there wouldn't be a picture explaining what it was. So then you had to tap on the name and then it brought you to page if you were on page like 12, it would take you to page 56 to look at a picture of how to do the workout. Then you had to scroll all the way back up to page 12 to actually do it. So I didn't really like that. I wish that there had been like more of an explanation at the beginning, and then maybe later on lost some of the pictures. I just feel like it was a lot of work just to figure out what we were doing, and especially just because like what I call like a prisoner squat, someone else could call a drop squat, and someone else could call something else. So I just wish that there had been like a little bit easier of a way to like figure out what exactly we were doing without having to go searching for an answer. And then the other thing that I thought was kind of weird was that not all of the rest times were included in the actual workout. So if you didn't read the description at the beginning telling you exactly how to do stuff, then when you got to the actual page, sometimes those rest times weren't there. For example, in the sweaty shredders, it would say like 30 seconds on, but then it wouldn't tell you that after you did that, you got a 10-second rest. So you thought that you were just going 30 seconds on and then I don't know, 6 times, and then it was very confusing unless you actually read the beginning. I wish that like each page had been a little bit more specific as to what was actually going on that day, because if you're like me, and if I wasn't doing a review on this, I definitely wouldn't have read the beginning. I probably just would have jumped into the first day of workouts and then like totally not had a rest, which would have sucked, because for the sweaty shredders, you like really need that 10 seconds. Honestly, I just feel like there was so much to like aesthetically that was tried to squeeze into all the pages, so I found it a little bit difficult to read, like to actually figure out what you were supposed to do. For me, I thought it was like a little complicated. I wish that it had been just maybe a little bit simpler. I'm such a stickler for like written cues, but I just feel like if you're not a visual learner, then like a written cue can just change something so much. I wish that somewhere in there had been like written cues so that if somebody wanted to, they could like go read what this was supposed to look like and then, yeah, maybe be able to do it a little bit better. I just feel like aesthetic definitely took over for functionality when it came to the layout of the ebook. Okay, so then we go on to warm-ups. Sarah gives a few ideas on how to warm up for all of her workouts. You can jog or jump rope or pretty much anything that's gonna get your heart rate up. And then she also offers a warm-up in case you don't have any equipment, or if you're like doing it in an apartment, then you can just warm up where you are. So if you watched my videos before, you probably already know where this is going, but the warm-up was not specific to the workout. Why does this matter? If you don't warm up the right muscles, you're putting yourself at risk for injury. And that doesn't mean that just like getting your heart rate up, like getting yourself physically warm, equals you're no longer at risk for injury. That's not exactly how it works. So like, yes, you want to get your heart rate up, but you also want to be activating the right muscles so that when it comes time to do the exercise, the right muscles are turned on. So like, for example, let's just think of a deadlift. So if I warmed up and I'm jogging, or if I'm jump roping, which is really more of like a quad and calf warm up, right? I'm jumping over and over again, so then I'm nice and warmed up. But then if I try to do something where I want to activate my glutes aren't turned on yet. So if I don't prime myself to get the right muscles to turn on, then I'm at a higher risk for using something else while I'm actually doing that exercise. And that is why I just think it's so important to actually warm up for the workout that you're about to do. So on top of all of the like risk factors that you put in when you don't warm up correctly, you're also just not going to get as good of a workout in because you probably aren't using the right muscles to actually do it. So we'll say if I just warmed up, like I'm just jumping rope and then I'm going to deadlift, okay? So if I only do that, what's warmed up right now is like my body temperature, my quads, my calves, maybe your core, depending on like how used to working out you are. So when you warm up like that, you're gonna go and you're probably not gonna get as much out of your deadlift. But if you warm up correctly, you warm up the glutes, you warm up your core, you warm up your lats, so that everything is like ready to work. When you go to that deadlift, you're not only getting a glute exercise, but you're gonna be working your glutes, your hamstrings, your core, your lats. Like you just get so much more out of one exercise when you're priming the correct muscles to do the exercise. So if you wanna do an ebook or an app and they don't have a specific warm up for the exercises that you're about to do, what I suggest is going through, looking at the workout and doing all of the exercises at 50% intensity. So if you were gonna go through and do like a sweaty shredder and the first workout on there was like a jump squat, just do a basic like body weight squat just so that you're warming up the right muscles. Just go through that workout like 1 or 2 times just to like prime everything, and then that way when you go into the workout to like do it at full intensity, your muscles are already primed to be doing the work that you're about to do. So I'm just gonna walk you guys like through my week and kind of what the workouts were like as I was going along. Day one was a sweaty shredder, and like guys, it was so hard. Like, it was so hard. It was really difficult, and I do this for a living. I really love the idea of interval training in an ebook setting because in that 45 seconds you are really in charge of how hard you push yourself. So someone could be doing 10 of whatever and someone else could be doing 20 of whatever, but they're both pushing themselves to their own limits. That way you can kind of control the workout a little bit more and really push yourself as hard as you want to. The other thing with the sweaty shredders is that there's a lot of jumping and like high impact work, not only in this workout but just throughout the ebook in general. There's a lot of jumping. I want to pause and talk about jumping because it's not really a good idea for everyone. There's definitely people who shouldn't be jumping. For example, if you have like chronic sprained ankles, if you're overweight or obese, if you have any kind of low back issues, I wouldn't really suggest jumping because I think that it puts just too much pressure on your body, and especially if you have low back issues, it might mean that your core needs a little bit of work. Repetitive jumping is probably just not the best for that group of people because it could lead to a serious injury. So if you fall into any of those categories, just be aware of that. I'm not sure honestly if this ebook would be best for you. I'll talk more on that later, but that is one of the biggest cons for me on this ebook, is that there are no written progressions or regressions. It's just kind of like what you see is what you get. Moving on to day two. Day two was a toning power. Day one was really, really hard, and day two was like really, really easy. I didn't really feel very like pushed during this workout, but I do feel like maybe the reason for that was because like this is way more in my wheelhouse than like HIIT and Tabata are. Like honestly, I don't really do like interval training more than once a week, maybe twice a week. But I do like strength exercises, especially right now. I do a lot of like strength bodyweight exercises. So I felt like maybe I'm just more like conditioned for this type of work. You know what I mean? The weird thing was like the crazy change from day one to day two. I was like, oh, this doesn't even really feel like it's in the same program. That kind of made me wonder like who the target audience is here, because I feel like day one was very like intermediate advanced, whereas day two was very like beginner friendly. I feel like she might be trying to like appease to a large group of people instead of like really getting specific with who would benefit the most from this. Fitness is just not a one-size-fits-all sort of thing, and so I think that what would have been better would be to maybe come out with like a beginner guide and then an intermediate advanced guide, or just like choose one and just deep dive into that specific group. I just feel like it was a little bit all over the place. Like maybe we're just choosing, like the scope was just too big for what we were trying to do, you know? On day three, this was a 10-minute ab challenge. So I was like so hyped about this because y'all know that I love the core until I saw the first exercise. Crunches. So when you do crunches, you're only working like a very limited amount of muscles. You're going to be working the external obliques and the rectus abdominis, and you can think of those as like the visible core muscles. So like when someone has like a six-pack or something like that, those are the muscles that you're seeing. But in order to have a strong core or to have visible abs, you need to be working from the inside out. So these like visible abs can't just lay on top of nothing, you know what I mean? So the core really starts from the inside and then works its way out. So you need to be working those internal muscles. The other thing with crunches is that they really work on your body in flexion. So when you're hunched over, let's go turn to the side. So when you're hunched over like this, your spine is in flexion, whereas if you were to arch back, your body's in extension. So you really want to be keeping a neutral spine right in the middle of those two. So when you do crunches, you're just working your body into extension and flexion, extension and flexion. And that's been shown to actually be super ineffective. And also you're going to create a lot of discomfort in your back. I will talk about this all day, every day, because I had so many low back issues. My back hurt all the time. And I thought that it was like my backpack or I was standing wrong or whatever. It was my core. It was totally my core because all I was doing was crunches. All I cared about was having like defined abs, and as soon as I stopped caring about that and started caring more about having a strong core, literally everything changed. I just felt so much stronger, not only in core exercises, but in like every exercise. And when you think about it, like what in your life looks like crunches? Literally nothing. So crunches aren't really gonna like help you support your spine or like get better posture or feel stronger in an exercise or anything. So in my mind, I just feel like they're kind of pointless. And I really truly do believe that there's other exercises that are just so much better for you. Yeah, so crunches are a no-go in my book. The rest of the core workout was fine in my opinion. We did this other thing where you were like on your forearms in a plank and then you like dip your hips side to side, and I don't know why that just like bothers me. Like I just really hate that exercise. It's like commandos. Like they just bother, I don't like them. They just make my body feel weird. I think that's just a like my body thing. So my last day of Sweat It to Shred It was a beach workout, but your girl lives in New York City and we're also in quarantine, so I don't have a beach. So instead I replaced the beach sprints with stair runs, which is like the only time it was convenient that I lived on a 6-story walk up. This workout for me, it just kind of fell a little flat. It just wasn't my favorite workout. It was honestly just like a lot of jumping, a lot of burpees. We did like alternating lunges. It was just like a lot of, it just made my quads burn like a lot. I would have just preferred to do another sweaty shredder, and I can't believe I'm saying that because oh my god, I was dying. But yeah, this one just wasn't my favorite, but this is the challenge day and the challenge days change all the time. You never really do the same one again, so I wouldn't let like me not liking the challenge day stop you from buying the ebook. So next, normally this is the part where I talk about the cool down, but we can't talk about the cool down because there wasn't one. Cool downs are just as important as warm-ups. I'm gonna film a series where I talk about like warm-ups and cool downs and like how to actually warm up and cool down from an exercise, so stay tuned for that. But pretty much the gist of it for cool downs is that you really want to bring your heart rate down slowly. If you're like running and jumping and doing all this stuff and then you just stop, your body's going to be like, what the heck? So you might end up feeling like a little bit nauseous afterwards and like just kind of, I don't know, dead inside. That's how I feel when I don't cool down. You can go on a walk, you can get like a resistance band and just do some light resistance work. It's really just anything that's gonna like still keep you moving, but like slow the heart rate down a little bit, so not as intense as maybe what you were doing previously. And you just want to follow that with some really simple stretches. Really don't want to push it too hard, but this is like really going to help with your recovery. You won't be as sore, your muscles are going to recover faster, and that means that you can work out the next day and like feel awesome and great. So as a whole, when I looked at the program and I see the workouts side by side, I just thought it was a little bit weird. Like I said before, like I just couldn't tell like who exactly this ebook was made for. Intensity levels were kind of all over the place, and again, like I just feel like she was trying to please a bunch of people. I just thought that it might have been better to come out with like a couple of different ones, and she could have kept like everything the same and just switched up some of the workouts. For example, the person who's being pushed by glute bridges is not the same person who can do burpees for 45 seconds. That just to me doesn't make sense in the same program. The other big thing for me was that we're mostly moving in one plane of motion. So there are 3 planes of motion and we want to be moving in all 3 of them. So we have the sagittal plane, which is up and down, back and forth. You have the frontal plane, which is anything side to side, and then you have the transverse plane, which is anything where you're like changing directions or like moving in some kind of rotation. In home workouts especially, you want to be moving in all 3 planes of motion because you really don't have like that much you can do. When you have a gym and you have all that equipment, like there's just, the world is your oyster. But when you're at home and you're doing all body weight stuff, it's going to be so much more beneficial to be moving through all 3 planes of motion. I like switching planes of motion in a circuit. Like if I can, every other exercise would be a different plane. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult, but that's always my goal. We live in a 360-degree world, right? So we want to be working out in the exact same way. I mentioned this earlier, but the other thing is the progressions and regressions. This just bothered me so much because if you couldn't do something, there was no alternative for you to do that was written in there. You really just had to like come up with something yourself. If someone is brand new to fitness, they don't really know where to start. So someone can't just be like, oh, I can't do this jumping burpee. What is an alternative for me? I mean, you could look it up, but like, if I bought an ebook, I would just really want something to be in there for me. Every now and then Sarah does post something like on her Instagram story where she'll be like, if you can't do this, then you can do this instead. But if you're not like keeping up with Sarah constantly, then you could probably miss that. So I just wish that there had been something like in the actual ebook that could show you like what you could do instead. Or on like the other end of that, if you're doing like glute bridges and you're like, this is really freaking easy, then you would have had something to like progress to next. In Sarah's defense though, I will say that like that does take up a lot of space in a book and could get a little bit junky. So I think that that's also just like one of the cons of buying an ebook over buying an app, is that, you know, with an app you're more likely to have that kind of stuff and you can just switch things out. I did the Tone and Sculpt app and it was like really easy just to like switch back and forth through like progressions, regressions. You could add equipment, take equipment away. So that's just like app versus ebook. It's definitely cheaper to buy an ebook in the long term than buying an app, but yeah, just something to keep in mind if you're like between two of them. So I looked over the rest of the weeks and the progressions were like a little bit strange to me, and I kind of wish that they had been a little bit more structured. So she changes all of the workouts, but some of the exercises stay similar, and some of the exercises really do like progress so that when you get to week 8, it's like way more advanced exercise, but then some of them stay the same from week 1 to week 8. Like the burpee, for example, like how are you gonna take a burpee? I think week 8 she makes it like a tuck jump burpee, but I feel like you could have started at the beginning like with like a half burpee and then kind of worked your way up to that. A tip for progressions, in case you're like writing your own program or like doing a program and you kind of want to like progress it your own way, only change one variable at a time. So if you're like in between making an exercise harder or doing it for longer, just change one of those. Don't change both of those at the same time. And because the progressions were not specific and weren't structured in a way, it made me confused as to what like the overall goal was, because I didn't really feel like we were working towards something super specific. That's just like a downside of buying like an ebook or an app in general. It's just that it's going to be non-specific unless you're buying something that does have a specific goal in mind, but most of them are just kind of like general fitness. The big question everyone's waiting for, is it worth it? The program runs for $69.99 Australian dollars, which is $42.22 in US dollars. This is definitely cheaper than like a personal trainer or any boutique fitness class, especially if you live in a big city like New York. I think the ebook offers a lot of different workouts for the price, but I don't think I would suggest this ebook for anyone who has bad ankles or is overweight or lives above people in an apartment complex, because like I said, there's a lot of jumping. I think if you're just looking for like some guidance and motivation and just like general fitness, I think that this is an awesome ebook. Sarah definitely did a great job with it. It is a beautiful setup. Like I could literally just sit there and look at it. It's so pretty. As always, and Sarah even says it herself, I would treat it as a guide. So make it your own, do what feels good, and as Sarah always says, listen to your body. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this review. If you have an ebook, app, YouTube video, Instagram, influencer who posts workouts or whatever, go ahead and comment them below and I'll add them to my list. If you've already commented something, I promise I'm working on it. The list is getting a lot longer than I originally anticipated. I'm really happy that you guys are loving these videos. I'm really enjoying making them. If you're looking for free workouts, you can follow me on my Instagram at Jane K. Simmons. And if you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so you never miss another video. I will see you guys next time.